And in the very next scene, Vincent and Claudia get into a heated argument. Vincent attacks Claudia's faith in God as nothing more than a child crying out for love, as if somehow there were something reprehensible about the need for love. Claudia tells him he simply does not understand. Vincent does not believe that a God will bring about paradise on earth, so he wants to make the best of his life as it is now. This argument sets the stage for the final conflict to come within two disparate worldviews found within the Order. This also marks the end of Heather's time in Brookhaven as she takes to the streets of Silent Hill once again. Heather returns to the motel room expecting to meet Douglas there, but finds Vincent instead, who just moments earlier was talking to Claudia. In terms of the classic hero's journey character archetypes, the role that Vincent plays may actually surprise some people. We will save the character archetype analysis for the very end of this series. Vincent tells Heather that Douglas went to the church on the other side of Toluca Lake, and he wants Heather to meet him there. He tells her that the only way there is through the Lakeside Amusement Park. Heather finds her way to Lakeside Amusement Park as her apparent premonition and the memory of Alessa seem to be converging as the sacred ceremony of the Order draws nearer. We hear and see similar cues which occurred previously in the game, which indicate that Heather is about to enter the other world, or in other words, the hellish memory of Alessa. It's worth pointing out that the word amuse in amusement park means to divert attention, which seems an appropriate ruse in order to draw Heather further along into this dark ritual perpetuated by the Order. Just as her dream at the very beginning, presuming the player isn't killed before reaching the roller coaster, Heather walks onto the tracks. Only this time, she uses the roller coaster key to lock the train cars in place. But some mysterious force engages the train cars again as it comes careening towards Heather. And Heather has no choice but to jump clear from the track as the scene fades to black. In the next scene, we are shown Douglas confronting Claudia over her dishonesty. Douglas defends his honor as an investigator and a man. By upholding his highest virtues, he also takes the de facto role of Heather's ally and protector. Douglas feels responsible for the death of Harry Mason and unwittingly delivering Heather into the hands of a deranged cult. On a side note, can anyone explain why Claudia is the only one who speaks the King's English, while everyone else in the game seems to have a distinctly American accent? Claudia explains to Douglas that Heather is needed to help usher in the birth of a God and a new paradise on earth. A world with no pain, no hunger, no sickness, no old age, with no war and no greed. Such a notion has been put forth by several religions today based upon the book of Revelations, where it reads in part, "There will be no more death, or mourning, or crying, or pain, or for the old order of things has passed away." Douglas responds by saying that it sounds like a place for castrated sheep. He also says it sounds pretty boring. Aside from the obvious and quite popular religion versus secularity argument going on here, Douglas Cartland's seemingly dismissive comment about Claudia's vision as boring contains great wisdom. Using the trivium elements of logic and rhetoric for a moment, what happens if we take a moment to consider the Order's vision of a paradise on earth, a place free from suffering and death? Of course, many would rightly dismiss such an idea solely upon the grounds that Claudia seems okay with inflicting suffering and death upon others in order to bring about a world free of such things, which of course is a glaring contradiction. Going further, however, let us take the idea of a paradise earth to its logical conclusion. What would life really be like in such a world? It certainly sounds like a great deal. It's quite an enticing notion, to be sure. But the devil is, as they say, in the details. So let's take this idea to its logical conclusion and try to imagine for a moment what a paradise earth would truly be like. From the perspective of someone living in a world filled with suffering like ours, it sounds like a great alternative to the way things are now. But what would happen to us if we lived in such a world and we eventually and completely forgot what suffering was in the first place? To completely lose the memory of what pain is would eventually lead to forgetting what joy is as well. And then you're in a situation where life is completely flat and totally meaningless. In other words, it is only after suffering and then feeling better again that we are able to grow and to subsequently have gratitude for the times when we feel good and are not suffering. To never know suffering means we could not truly know joy at all either. We can't have it all one way because it simply isn't how things work in this life. It's just not how the universe is constructed. So now Heather must make her way through Borley Haunted Mansion, which of course is named after a haunted rectory in England, which is burned down a long time ago. This haunted house attraction at Lakeside Amusement Park is in keeping with the theme of ambiguity between the other world and reality, as well as creating a sense of animalistic fear with Heather running from the red fog as if she were a rat in a maze. She is being guided further along these dark rituals by her basic animal instincts.